Councilmember Weezer, Chair of the committee. We've been joined by Councilmember Price, Councilmember Englander, and Councilmember Bloomfield. First item of business is the multiple item speaker cards. These are items for which individual speakers have asked to speak on more than one item. The first speaker is Wayne.
Status report.
Fuck the oral status report.
And we get to number 2. And this is involving alcohol for Herb Wesson. Number 2, Herb Wesson, the alcoholic, wants Zeferino Garcia to have a liquor license. We support it. Good. Keep drinking, Herb. Keep smoking, Herb. Drink and smoke yourself to an early grave. There's nothing better for all of us in Los Angeles. Item number 3, city attorney. Fuck the city attorney. I'm done with that. Number 4, CD1. Well, unfortunately, I have to defer to Gil Cedillo, a.k.a. Gil Cedillo, because we have a cornfield issue, and it's a peace treaty. We're going to keep the peace treaty. Number 5, Mike Bonin, the drug addict, and CD number 11 is in the other room right now, and the Teamsters are all mad in the Public Works room right now saying, and they all wanted me to tell you,
fuck you.
Number 6, CD 10, again, the Cultural Heritage Commission. We want a historic monument, right?
Right.
But the problem is, Herb Wesson needs campaign money, so they're trying to pay off Herb Wesson. Vote the way you're supposed to against Herman Jason Wesson, a.k.a. the terrorist. Number 7, he continues to sell his 10th office district. No to Herb Wesson. No, no, no. And then number 8, is Jose Weezer? No.
Herman?
Well, it is a real big deal when dealing with a destination for strokes off of Vista Trax residents. The only stroke this city does is stroking the public. And it's a very long stroke. And then when we have more necessity for alcoholism, what better way to drink it up? I'm in favor of public convenience, more so necessity for off-site sales. Let's give a woo-hoo-hoo to the West Pico Boulevard, adding more alcohol like that of Jose Weezer. Then we go into item 3, instructing Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety that Andrew Edelman used roofies as a date rape drug. Oh, I'm sorry, that's off topic. But let's go back to motion 4. Got nothing to say about Mr. Steele. He's doing a good job of finding me housing. Then item 5, you're right, Mr. Spindler. Those goddamn people out there should do some more protesting on the right-of-way. I'm partially Caucasian, and some people look at me as being a wetback because of the color of my skin. But, you know, Mr. Bonin, city administrative person, needs to get his ass to work and do more for public right-of-ways, because Willards versus Los Angeles says you cannot deter or detour me from a public sidewalk or street due to a path of travel. Then you go into item 7, because you only get 2 fucking minutes, which I can do this all in 1 minute. But regarding density bonuses, fuck Herman Jason Wesson on House holds affordable units. 5%, fuck you.
Ms. Clara Brown? Clara Brown, not here. Okay, so we'll move to the consent items. Item number 2. We have 2 speaker cards. So we'll pull that item off the consent calendar, call those to order. First speaker is Fidel Gomez.
Hello, my name is Fidel Gomez, and I am in favor of item number 2. Why is it very important to us as an indigenous group of Latin America? I am Zapoteco, and this store, they gonna give us the opportunity to give us the this beverage that for us we use it in a certain and a special event. So that's why I am in favor of this item number 2.
Thank you. Patrick Panzarello.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Panzarello, and I live in North Hills, California. And I'm here on behalf of Mr. Garcia, who could not be here today. He's in Oaxaca, Mexico, for a celebration there that he's sponsoring. Mr. Garcia first came to this property on Van Ness and Pico over 10 years ago, where he created his Oaxacan Mexican restaurant. He also had a tortilla factory in the back area, and the tortilla factory outgrew it. So about 4 years ago, he invested further on the property, and he took over a defunct pro golf shop and created his tortilla factory and bakery, along with a meat market inside. He contributes very huge to this community, especially the Oaxacan community that's moving into Herb Wesson's neighborhood. Mr. Garcia wants to import here only mezcal, no other alcohol. And in order to do that, he did his due diligence with the neighborhood council, met with them and got their full support from the full board. He also met with the LAPD, with the vice departments. We met Mr.
You could finish, sir.
Thank you. He also met with Officer Guzman, who was in full support. He shared his experience of just touring the mezcal factories in Oaxaca and said how important it is to have different flavors and such. There's over 46 conditions on the property. One of them is that there's no domestic beer and wine at all sold, no refrigeration at all with the product, no self-service, only 50 square feet of facing, and all the other conditions given us. This is a very important niche for this community. The mezcal was made in Oaxaca, and it's important that we support this type of applicant. Mr. Garcia owns another market also in Mr. Wesson's district on 8th and Normandy. He also owns a bottega or convenience store on Western and Pico. He owns 2 businesses on this property. He also owns a large restaurant and tortilla factory in Mr. Price's district on 59th Street and Broadway that he also owns a property. He came over here over 30 years ago, started selling hot dogs in front of City Hall, finally saved enough money to open his restaurant, so he's asking for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, we'll move to approve. No objections, so ordered. Thank you. Item number 8, we will continue to the 16th of October. Item number 9, continue to the 16th of October. Item number 10, continue to a date uncertain. Got all that, Mr. Mejia?
Yes, sir.
Or are you still kind of upset about the Ducks beating the Bears this weekend?
If you're okay, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. Item number 1, report from the Director of Planning, Mr. Bertone.
Thank you, Chair Weezard, members of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, Vince Bertone, Director of Planning. Just wanted to give you an update regarding issue in terms of the Land Use Authority that is vested in the successor agency for the former Community Redevelopment Agency of Los Angeles. As you know, the CRA was dissolved in 2012, and at that point in time, the city elected not to become the successor agency, and the governor appointed a designated local authority to take over their primary duties. One of the things they kept was the land use authority, and many of the redevelopment plans in this city did have specific land use regulations within them, and since the dissolution of redevelopment back in 2012, some of these redevelopment project areas have expired. However, we have about 21 that are still active, and the last ones will expire in the year 2033. We actually have a couple that are expiring this year. But until the individual project areas expire, even though the redevelopment agency is not in effect and there's a designated local authority that oversees their affairs, they still have a local land use authority, and that local land use authority does have some of those project areas, and many of them have some very specific regulations. And so what happens now, if a development project is in one of those areas, they have to come both through the city planning department as well as over to the designated local authority for approvals. The city council had passed a motion to explore taking over the authority, and the Department of City Planning has been studying that. The city council resolution was from 2014, and so we've been studying that issue. There's been some issues. We've been working closely with the city attorney's office on that, and we're prepared to bring an ordinance through the process now that would transfer the land use authority from the designated local authority, or which is the successor agency for LACRA, to the city. And so we're prepared to produce a draft ordinance later this month, probably about middle October. That'll go to a hearing officer meeting in November. So that'll be a staff level hearing officer, and then we're expecting to have that heard by our city planning commission in December. The second meeting in December, I believe, is December 20th. Our goal is to transmit that to the city clerk by the end of this calendar year, so that this can be available for this committee to hear early next year. I also have with me Kevin Keller, who's our executive officer, as well as Craig Weber, who's our principal planner for community planning, if you have any questions on that. Otherwise, it will be going through a process. It'll be heard by both a hearing officer and the city planning commission. It'll be ready to go before you early next year.
Cool. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Bertone? No. Receiving file item number 1. Item number 3.
Item 3, Councilman, this is a motion by Councilmember Bloomfield, Buscaino. It's instructing Building and Safety, along with the city attorney, to prepare an ordinance to amend the Muni Code as it relates to the notification of demolitions.
Staff here to present on this item?
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Westhoff. I'm a code and policy consultant with the Department of Building and Safety, here to address the matter.
Hi, Eugene Barbeau, staff for Building and Safety.
Yeah. So what we're looking at doing is the demolition ordinance went through just last January. Unfortunately, the department didn't get a chance to actually look at it, so a couple of small matters to tweak have come up. One is the requirement for the sign that has to be posted. It's 11 by 17 inches. The current code says that the lettering is supposed to be 3 inches high. In practicality, that can't be done. You can't get the words on properly, but if we reduce from 3 inches to 2.5 inches, we can get all the language on the sign without any problem. Another thing is the fencing that's required. We have no problem with the fencing being required. The issue is, and what Building and Safety would like to work on, is how long before the permit is issued does the fencing need to be up? Protective fencing and protection for pedestrians absolutely is necessary. But if it's required 30 days before the permit is issued, not before work begins, but before the permit is issued, we're just concerned that the individual or individuals doing the demolition will be spending an unnecessary amount of money to pay for that fencing that goes up. So we'd like to reduce the 30 days before the permit is issued to something more like 7. And then, of course, the fencing stays up as long as the demolition is going on. So we just want to change that from 30 to 7 days. And then the last thing is, in subparagraph 1 on notice, it says that the department shall send written notice of the demolition pre-inspection application by U.S. mail to abutting property owners and occupants. We'd like to change the "and" to "and/or occupants." And if I can explain for just briefly. For example, if you have a piece of property that's going to undergo the demo, but the property next door is a 60 or 70 unit apartment complex, there's no way for the department or the individual or company getting the demolition permit to be able to know who the occupants in an apartment situation are. They just change too rapidly. They're not set forth in the property tax records. There's just no way to know who the individual occupants are. But if you tell the property owner, the individual or company that owns the entire apartment complex, they will have notice and they can pass on notice to the individual tenants. In a condominium complex, we can find out who the individual owners are by the tax records, but if an owner has leased out their unit to somebody else, there's no way to know who that leased occupant is. Again, we can get the property owner, but not the occupant because it's a lease situation. And those are the 3 things that we would like to fix. A simple and/or, change the size of the font from 3 inches to 2.5, and to change the dates on the fencing prior to issuance of the permit from 30 to 7.
Okay?
Okay?
Any questions?
Yep.
Mr. Bloomfield?
Thank you. No, and I was happy to bring this motion forward at the request of the department, and I'm certainly going to move that we address the signage issue and present the motion on all the issues. The one issue, though, that I think we're going to need to get a report back about costs and benefits has to do with the timing of the sign. And in fact, Councilman Koretz sent us all a letter, which I was just looking at, about some of the concerns, in particular that if we put the sign up too late, then in 7 days out, maybe too late, then we often, it can be sometimes an invitation for squatters, and it can end up, what's that? Fence, no.
Oh, fence.
Yeah, the fence, I'm sorry. I was thinking the word fence and saying the word sign. If we put the fence up to, after the 7 days instead of the 30 days, it could be, and the demo permit goes up, it often is an invitation to squatters and to other issues of security come onto that property. And that's something that Mr. Koretz has noted in his letter, and I've certainly experienced that in my district as well. I'm sure we all have on certain properties. It may not be every property, but it can be a problem. So what I'm going to recommend is that we, as we move this forward, we ask the department, in coordination with the city attorney and the LAPD, to report back on the costs and benefits, as well as recommendations of requiring the fencing and what the date of that fencing should be. Because I understand from a building and safety perspective and from the developer's perspective, the shorter the better, because time is money, but there's an externality here, which is the community impact and the safety, and that's where we need to talk to the police and get a better sense of that. So that would be my suggestion as an amendment to this, that we move it forward, but we have this additional reporting requirement about the cost benefits so that we can find when is the best time to put that fence up, because I fear that 7 days may be too short a time, even if 30 days is too long.
Okay.
Can we submit that information concurrent with a draft ordinance with the amendments that we're looking for otherwise?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, yes, and that could be part of the motion, that it could be done concurrently, but if it pleases the chair and the body, that would be the recommendation.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can look into that and get the information. And just for expediency, I'd like to be able to submit everything concurrently.
Yeah, it's just, but we want to have some options for the fencing time, because that is a contentious issue with some of my colleagues, and I get it, and I want us to be able to have a better bead on what that should be and why.
Sure.
So,
And if in talking to LAPD and looking at some statistics, if it looks like it needs to remain at 30, it'll remain at 30.
great.
But it'll based on what we see.
Right, and you'll
'Cause
report
there's
back to
30
us,
in
so we'll get your recommendations, you'll talk to LAPD, you talk to some of the council members, see
Right.
Mr. Koretz's letter. When you land on something, we'll then be able to, in the final ordinance, be able to tweak it how we need to tweak it.
Absolutely, the final ordinance, but we'll give you all the information we can
Right.
find at that
Right,
time.
but we don't want to slow the process down, so get it.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will move this item as amended by the Department and we will incorporate the report back as requested by Councilmember Bloomfield to come back concurrently with the ordinance.
Well, I think
And we have
Councilman,
speakers.
I think Councilman Blumenfield wanted a cost-benefit analysis, Councilman.
Yes, his motion is stated. We have two public speakers, Doug Haynes. Doug Haynes, are you here? After Doug Haynes is Aviv Kleiman from Council District 5.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Aviv Kleinman, Planning Deputy for Councilmember Koretz's office. Thank you, Councilmember Blumenfeld, for mentioning some points in the letter, but if you don't mind, I'll just read it in whole to touch on some other points. Councilmember Koretz recognizes the need for efficiency in the building and demolition process. We support these types of actions that will improve efficiency and clarification in the municipal code. However, Councilmember Koretz has seen that as soon as a notice for demolition appears on a building, it acts as an invitation for squatters and illegal trespassers. Our office has experienced many circumstances where squatters inhabit properties slated for demolition, and oftentimes these squatters commit property crimes and other crimes in the area, and on some occasions have lit the buildings on fire. We believe fencing is imperative to prevent buildings from squatters. We recommend that the fencing requirement be instituted concurrently with the notice for demolition, so as soon as a notice is posted, the property must be fenced and secured. Secondly, we have also seen that sometimes when pre-demolition fencing is erected, the contractor will utilize existing walls from adjacent properties as part of the fence. In some occasions, these walls are only 3 feet high, which is easily traversed. In other occasions, the contractors will erect the fencing but leave the fence unlocked. We recommend that the fencing requirements clarify that 6-foot-high fencing is required on all sides of the property and to mandate that fences are locked daily. Finally, we would like to recommend that the Department of Building and Safety makes demolition contractors and property owners aware of the LAPD Trespass Arrest Authorization Form when filing for demolition permits. This form, which has been distributed, and when signed and kept on file with LAPD, authorizes LAPD officers to enter private property and make arrests when there is illegal squatting or trespassing on site without requiring the property owners to be there at the time. We recommend LADBS offers this form to contractors when they apply for demolition permits. To reiterate these 3 suggestions, concurrent notice and fencing, secure 6-foot fencing on all sides of the property, and the requirement for building and safety to provide the LAPD trespass arrest authorization form to demolition applicants will ensure safety of our neighborhoods. And if I may add, regarding the occupants and owners, we request that all people present next door to the demolition sites be notified so that they can know that they need to prepare their home, close their windows, etc., so they don't receive dust. So we would ask that the notice does go to occupants, and if they can't be named, perhaps to provide a unit number in apartment buildings. Thank you.
Councilmember Huizar, I think you took a vote. I think the committee took a vote and then public comment. So you probably should make a motion to rescind the vote, hold the public comment, and then take the vote.
Okay.
Number 1. And then number 2, that I would just like to comment that there appear to be a lot of changes that might be made to the ordinance, and it may be more efficient actually to have the report back and for this committee to decide, make these changes rather than have an ordinance that doesn't cover any of those. So that's just my suggestion.
All right, I don't think we've actually taken a vote, but we'll, for the record, I had made a motion to approve it, and then we went into public comment, so I think we're okay there. And we'll talk to the department right now to see what's the most efficient way to move forward. So, Doug Haynes?
Hi, my name is Doug Haynes. I serve on 2 neighborhood councils, East Hollywood and Hollywood's 2 district neighborhood councils. I chair the planning committees for both. And just 2 weeks in September, I received 10 demolition notices, I think everyone needs to remember that these notices are for properties that are over 45 years old. It's important, and I think the purpose behind it was to get the word out that potentially historic resources might be demolished. So I would say that instead of restricting radius notification, restricting the height of the lettering, that the signage should be larger so you can get in higher lettering. There should be more information on the signage and what's distributed so people know who to contact if they want to raise concerns, their council office and also the Office of Historic Resources. And that would satisfy them, the whole reason behind this. As far as the fencing, a lot of these notifications in our area have been going up where places are still occupied. So the earlier people know about it, the better. And as far as the fencing going up, that should be right before demolition begins so that you don't have people, no matter if the fencing's up or not, there's going to be people trying to get inside and break in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so as a department, have you seen the suggestions put forward by Councilmember Koretz?
Kim Westhoff, yes. We have a copy of the letter. We'll be able to address it.
Okay, and would you suggest that you'll be able to address it, but it's not actual recommendations for the ordinance, correct?
That's my understanding. But
Yeah.
we'll address it and we'll take it under serious consideration.
Oh. Okay. Council District 5, your recommendations in the letter are not like actual amendments to the ordinance, correct? The recommendations for implementation and how okay.
And we appreciate the input.
Okay, great, thank you. So I think we're okay to move forward. As I outlined the original motion, which was to adopt the code amendment with the changes, the 3 changes suggested by the department, and with the report back suggested by Councilmember Bloomfield that would come back to us at the same time as the ordinance. Those 3 changes were not major changes, I think, so I think we'll be okay. Any objections? Seeing none, so ordered. Thank you. Item number 4.
Item 4, Councilman, this is a motion, Cedillo Harris Dawson. It's instructing city planning and the city attorney to prepare an amendment to the Cornfield Arroyo Cycle specific plan to identify affordable housing bonus option strategy B.
Staff here on this item?
Good afternoon, committee members. Craig Weber, Department of City Planning staff. There have been 2 motions requesting amendments to the Cornfield Arroyo Seco specific plan, a specific plan that was adopted in 2013, covering a range of industrial and multifamily properties in the Central City, North and Northeast LA area. The first motion, which has previously been approved by council, requested a minor amendment to the specific plan to further a housing strategy within the specific plan that would otherwise have sunsetted. The department is working on that request and has scheduled a public hearing in the month of November. The second request is somewhat more expansive in the amendments that would be envisioned in the specific plan. My understanding is at a point of being approved by council so that it can be referred to staff.
Okay. So, we'll go to public comment. Jerry Newman, Mark Edwards. Jerry Newman here? No? Okay.
So good afternoon. My name is Mark Edwards, and I am here on behalf of the over 2,000 members of the Abundant Housing LA to express our strong support for Councilmember Cedillo's motion for clarifying and amending the affordable housing bonus option B, I believe is strategy B. The 660-acre CASP is one of the last remaining pockets of the city where mixed use can flourish, and residential uses can thrive alongside commercial, office, light industrial uses. We've had this frequent conversation. When it comes down, you want to have that balance between jobs and housing. This is an ideal opportunity in the city of Los Angeles. Also, just to throw out some items to consider is to re-examine, rethink the zoning district, permitted uses, use limitations, and exploring shifting. Anyways, at the end of the day, I see my time is running out. I'm here fundamentally to say on behalf of Abundant Housing LA that we support the amendments and look forward to adding our voices to the conversation. Thank you for doing this.
All right. Mark Motonaga, Rogelio Navarro, Michael Scholstein.
Hello, my name is Mark Motonaga, and I am with the firm RCH Studios. We're a design firm in LA and work in the CASP area. I would like to speak in support of the motion. After working through the projects in the CASP, I find that the clarification and interpretation proposed would actually really create the opportunity to have more affordable housing, as well as allow for CASP to become a little clearer in its application. I believe that sometimes these mixed-use projects that we're looking at can be hindered from creating the balance that we see as successful in creating a good neighborhood. So I would really like to support this motion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee chairman, committee members. My name is Rogelio Navarro. I'm here representing 15 Group Capital, and we're one of the larger stakeholders in the CASP. Additionally, we are one of the groups that won the RFP to redevelop the Lincoln Heights Jail, and we're currently working on that. I'm here to express support for the motion that's before you today. The CASP generally has done a good job in incentivizing or allowing the opportunity for adaptive reuse projects, but it's done a really poor job of incentivizing new construction of residential, retail, commercial, R&D facilities, and new corporate headquarters, which are the very combination of uses the council intended and encouraged when the CASP was passed in 2013, August of 2013. Part of it's been the manner in which the planning department has applied the utilization of Strategy B. And this motion before you today specifically addresses and resolves that issue. During one of the most robust periods in the development cycle, sorry, 10 more seconds?
Finish, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. During one of the most robust periods in the development cycle, right next to the Gold Line station, as well as next to the largest regional employment base in Southern California, coupled with the fact that there's little to no displacement that would take place in the CASP, we feel that there's a tremendous opportunity for moving forward with this motion and allowing for a mixed use in that area so close to downtown. Thank you for your time.
Afternoon. I'm Michael Scholstein with Central City Association. We're supportive of the city's efforts to evaluate the CASP and clarify its intentions to foster mixed-use, mixed-income development. The CASP contains many innovative planning ideas to achieve public benefits in tandem with new private development. However, the current interpretation of the CASP affordability strategy severely limits the potential for new housing development to occur. Few, if any, mixed-use developments have been entitled under the CASP since its adoption in 2013, despite the fact that these kinds of projects have proliferated elsewhere throughout downtown and surrounding areas. With this clarification and an evaluation of other potential improvements, we're confident that the CASP will be able to deliver the mixed income housing and other community benefits it was designed to create. Thank you.
Andrew. After Andrew will be Destiny and Matt.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Rinaldo. I'm in support of the motion. We have seen a lot of new businesses pop up in some of the existing facilities and think that bringing more affordable housing into the neighborhood is greatly needed and will also help support those businesses and the fantastic park that just opened up. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Destiny. I'm speaking on behalf of Scott and David. They're out of town, so I will just begin this. We strongly support the clarification the council member Steele has presented for consideration, but we don't believe that the area will be converted into housing entirely or immediately, but the planning department interpretation has created uncertainty, and the point of the CASP was to offer a path out of uncertainty through the clear description that uses CASP thought out to promote. We encourage Plum Committee to support this motion by approval of the City Council. And then I just have these for you guys.
Sergio.
I'm Matt Nichols with dlapiper. We represent a lot of businesses and property owners in the CASP, and here to express our support as we think it addresses the need to provide housing and fixed income, which has completely been lacking in the last 5 years due to the current interpretation by planning on Strategy B. I'll keep it short to not echo everything that's already been said, but we believe this motion supports the interests of the community and the city as a whole, and in particular the need to, prior to the amendment being adopted to the CASP, planning to take a governing policy, which would say that all present, future, and incoming projects could utilize Strategy B as intended. Thank you.
Thank you. Drew, Ray, Christine.
Just want to start off by saying thank you so much, guys, for taking this into consideration, and thank you to planning. I know that this isn't easy for anyone, but it's great that this is finally getting in front of the city to be reviewed. We've been in the CASP now for a couple of years, and it's been extremely difficult to navigate through the landscape, even for planning. You know, they didn't have clarity around this, so there's been a lot of false starts for us. But we're really excited about the infrastructure that the city has made major investments into in the community there, whether it's the Gold Line, the future LA River project, the CASP Park itself, the Union Station lines, and we really think that the CASP can help support the money that's been invested into this community with a slight adjustment to the zoning. I know our projects specifically are looking at targeting workforce housing for live-work components, and without this adjustment, it's just not possible for us to develop in the area and push the interests of the entire city forward.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Ray Gonzalez. I'm here representing the San Antonio Winery that's been in the city of LA for 101 years. We strongly support Gil Cedillo's motion to reinterpret the FAR requirements for the CASP. The CASP program has been approved since 2013, and there's been no residential buildings or in the area, and we strongly support this motion because we feel this will increase mixed income housing in the area. We want to thank Chairman Jose Huizar and this committee for their consideration in approving this motion. I thank you.
Good afternoon. Christine Rangel from the Building Industry Association. The BIA expresses our support for the motion to clarify and amend the Affordable Housing Bonus Option B. The CASP was created to provide a balance between a diverse mix of uses, including residential to help encourage and enable job-creating businesses and industry in the CASP. The goal of the plan has clearly not been achieved in year 5, now going on year 6 since the plan was adopted. By way of comparison, if we look at the CASP plan versus the Warner Center plan in CD3 in terms of housing production and job comparison, the Warner Center plan passed at the same time as the CASP plan with the same intention. When you look at new multifamily residential units built, approved, and proposed, built 1,250, approved 2,100, and proposed 2,500. If you look at CASP, 000. I urge this committee to support moving bullet points 1 and 2 of the motion forward to the full council for approval, and bullet point 3 to staff for an evaluation to report back on CASP policies at year 5, as we're going on year 6 now. Thank you.
Jerry Newman? Jerry Newman? The other Jerry Newman. Gerald Kubasan.
I know Jerry Newman. I am no Jerry Newman. I'm Gerald Kubaton, Councilman, Gil Cedillo's office. The council office urges the committee to support the motion before you. The council voted on the CASP in July 2013. It became effective in August 2013. From 2013 to 2018, there's been zero housing production in the planning area, even in this very strong real estate market. The impetus for the motion came from our experience with the Lincoln Heights Jail redevelopment. Lincoln Heights Jail is a city-owned asset that's been designated as an economic development opportunity site, and the selected development team ran into differing interpretations of the specific plan. So this motion does ask for a 5-year review of the policies. It also sets direction on interpreting a key land use incentive, which we believe is intended to promote affordable housing and mixed income housing. So with that, council office is available to work with the planning department, key community stakeholders to conduct the policy review so that the specific plan can effectively advance its objectives to build a vibrant community around the cornfield, the LA River, the Arroyo Seco, and generate, and we fully support catalytic and transformative type investment. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Are there questions or comments, colleagues, on this matter? If not, hearing no objection, we'll adopt this matter and move to item number 5.
Item 5, Councilman, this is a report from the CAO relative to proposed detachment of the public right-of-way on the 5400 block of 116th Street to the County of LA.
Good afternoon, council members. Mark Magallanes from the Office of the CAO. The item before you is a Boundary Adjustment Board report on recommending the proposed attachment of 1.3 acres of the West 5400 block of 116th Street and CD 11 from the City of Los Angeles to the County of Los Angeles. Membership of the Boundary Adjustment Board is composed of the CLA, CAO, Director of City Planning, and the impacted council member. LA County residents have requested the county to annex the street to address parking concerns on the street. LA County initiated the annexation on behalf of residents through the Local Agency Formation Commission, also known as LAFCO, the government agency responsible for approving boundary adjustments in the state of California. We conducted a study through surveying all city departments to understand the fiscal and operational impacts of detaching 1.3 acres of the street to county jurisdiction. One department noted a financial impact, BOE. BOE will have to pay additional fees to the county to obtain access to the sewer underneath for sewer repairs in the coming year for a sewer repair project. This will cost approximately $500. There are ongoing fee and permit costs associated with sewer repairs on the street. Sewer repairs will occur as needed, but most likely will occur in the next cycle of sewer repairs, which will occur within the next 25 to 50 years. This detachment is revenue neutral. There are no properties associated with the detachment. It is just a right-of-way. This piece of land creates no property taxes for the city. Council approval is required to approve the detachment and sign the joint tax transfer resolution with the County of Los Angeles, Consolidated Fire Protection District of Los Angeles, and the West Basin Municipal Water District to finalize the detachment of the right-of-way to county jurisdiction. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much. Questions or comments, colleagues? Seeing none, we have a comment from District 11, Mr. Jeff Thompson.
Good afternoon, honorable members of this committee. My name is Jeff Thompson. I'm the originator of this request. There are acute parking issues in this area, and this is the primary reason for this request. Basically, the county residents in this area would like to extend their preferential parking district, and we've been waiting for about a year for it to get this far, so would love for the process to move forward. If you have any additional questions, let me know.
Thank you. Questions, comments, Mr. England?
Just a clarifying question. You said you were a staffer, a council member?
Yes, I'm the LAX liaison to Councilmember Mike Bonin.
Oh, so how did you originate it?
So originally I reached out to LAFCO in coordination with the airport to originate this process. And it's a long process that needs to go through a host of agencies, and this is the final kind of chapter that the City of Los Angeles needs to take in order to dispense the piece of land. So this will go on to council, and then LAFCO will take over from there.
So the council member didn't originate it?
No, but the council member was present at the committee meeting that we had a few weeks ago for the suspension of this land. So he is aware and supports this.
Oh, did you? And I'm just for clarification, did you originate it as wearing a different hat than that of a staff member? I just wasn't. I'm not sure. I'm just asking.
No, as the LAX liaison, because there's a lot of impacts to LAX. We have some regular.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. I'm on LAFCO, so that's why I'm asking. Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you so much, Mr. Englander. If there are no other comments, I got a long one here, so get ready. I move to adopt the CAO recommendations relative to the proposed attachment of the 5400 block of West 116th Street as follows. Number 1, approve the proposed land detachment of approximately 1.3 acres of city's right-of-way located at the 5400 block of West 116th Street to the County of Los Angeles jurisdiction. Number 2, adopt the proposed joint tax transfer resolution between the City of Los Angeles, the County of Los Angeles, the Consolidated Fire Protection District of Los Angeles, and the West Basin Municipal Water District, approving and accepting the negotiated exchange of property tax revenues resulting from the annexation of the territory known as the City of Los Angeles Reorganization, number 2016-33, subject to the City Attorney's review. Number 3, instruct and authorize the City Administrative Officer with the assistance of any other city departments deemed necessary to submit the joint tax transfer resolution to the local agency formation commission for the detachment of approximately 1.3 acres of the 5400 block of West 116th Street and transfer of fire and water services to the Consolidated Fire Protection District of Los Angeles and West Basin Municipal Water District, respectively. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. Thank you. Number 6.
Councilman, item 6, it's a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission, which declined the designation of Stokes Angelos Vista Tract residence as a historic cultural monument in CD 10.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll hear from staff first on this.
Good afternoon, council members. Ken Bernstein with Department of City Planning, Office of Historic Resources. The item before you was initiated by the Los Angeles City Council acting upon a motion introduced by Council District 10. The item was heard by the Cultural Heritage Commission, and the Commission unanimously recommended denial of the Historic Cultural Monument nomination, finding it did not meet any of the criteria for designation under the Cultural Heritage Ordinance, that it was not a distinctive or outstanding example of craftsman-style architecture, that it no longer retains sufficient integrity to individually convey its significance, and was not identified with important historic events. So the recommendation is denial. I did want to note that typically items that are denied by the Cultural Heritage Commission don't come before this committee and the City Council. You typically only see those items that are recommended for approval as historic cultural monuments. Because this was initiated by council motion, it does, under our Cultural Heritage Ordinance, come back and would require 10 votes by the council to approve it as a historic cultural monument.
Thank you.
Take any questions.
Are there any questions or comments on this for Mr. Bernstein? No? Seeing none. We will ask the applicant to join us at the podium.
Jordan,
yes, sir.
By applicant, do you mean applicant of the designation or the current property owner?
I mean the applicant of the designation,
okay,
and to be followed by the property owner.
Sure. Okay. So my name is Jordan Brewerkeem. I'm here from Council District 10 Herb Wesson's office. As staff touched on, this was a council-initiated designation. Unfortunately, the Cultural Heritage Commission felt like this did not meet any thresholds of significance. Just to let you know, our office received emails by the dozens by local neighborhood constituents back in March and April of this year. The proposed project was facing demolition. So as a result, our office thought that it warranted maybe a look at through Cultural Heritage Commission. Unfortunately, the recommendation came out to not designate. At the time, we had asked the local neighborhood council, which is United Neighbors Neighborhood Council, to take the council file 18-0330 up for consideration. At the time, it was our understanding that the motion had failed at the neighborhood council, and it is also our understanding that the bylaws had changed for neighborhood councils, and depending on how abstention views are counted, the motion may or may not have passed. So if you recall, this item was before this committee a couple weeks ago, and at the time we had requested a continuance because we had, we had requested further interpretation from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. And although we did get a final interpretation this morning, we did receive some communication from the city attorney's office just moments before Plum started, and it looks like there is a possibility that Dunn could be viewing their how they tally their votes incorrectly. So because we don't want to make a false designation or do any type of wrongdoing, our office is going to ask that we move this matter forward to council tomorrow with no recommendation. We are hoping to get final clarity from the city attorney's office by tomorrow morning. If for whatever reason we still need more time, then I believe the council reserves the right to extend the item for an additional 15 days without the property owner's consent. So with that, we just ask for more time. Again, we don't want to make the wrong decision here. We want to give it as much diligence as possible. And if you have any other questions, I'm here.
Thank you so much. And so now we'll hear from the property owner.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Daniel Friedman with Jeffer Mangels Butler Mitchell. We represent the property owner with respect to this designation. Let me first start by saying this isn't really a questionable case. I understand the council member's concern when it was nominated. Pardon me, I'm getting over cold. And wanting to have the city look at it, and that happened here. And when the staff looked at it, they said, this isn't a historic monument based on our city standards. When Survey LA looked at it in the past, the CRA looked at it in the past, they found it wasn't a historic monument under any standard. When the Cultural Heritage Commission looked at it, on a unanimous vote, they said this isn't a cultural historic monument. Finally, my client retained experts as well who looked at it. ESA, well-recognized group who specializes in historic designations, found that this didn't meet the criteria. So did another expert who my client retained, Anne Marie, who's here to speak to you. And also, we understand that some people may have supported this in the past, but there have also been dozens of letters put into your file that you should have that show people who oppose, and you'll hear speakers here who oppose this designation. Why do they oppose? Because the reason why this designation moved forward in the first place is because my client is demolishing it for a TOC project, which will provide affordable units. So this is bigger than just whether the house is historic or not. This is actually whether we're going to be sacrificing homes for people who do not have homes for this building. All we ask for is that the standards be fairly applied. There has not been a single expert by the city or independent who has weighed in that this is a building worthy of nomination under our HCM standards. I also understand the council office is requesting that it move forward without any action by this committee. I understand the request, but I think you should move forward today and take an action on this. It's going to move forward to council anyways. The property owner who's been dealing with this had his project delayed for a year now maybe because of this process, has come out today. He's had his representatives come out today. I'm here. He has fees for that. He's paid for reports. He's had to get his friends and family to come out. This has been a long process for him too. And I understand the council office is concerned with how the vote went at the UNNC, but at the end of the day, that shouldn't be your concern. And because it's going to be going forward to council anyways, if they need to take action at that point, they can do what they need to do. We feel confident that the vote in front of the UNNC did not pass. I sent an email to their office outlining how to analyze the tally based on city-approved documentation on this issue. So what I ask for from this committee is that you do take action today. It doesn't mean the City Council and Councilman Weston's office won't have an opportunity to handle this tomorrow, should they wish. But I feel confident that when they get the advice on this UNNC vote issue, they're not going to be interested. But whether they're interested or not, that really shouldn't be your concern today. I think if you apply the HCM criteria to this property and you listen to your experts, I think this isn't a questionable case. So we ask that you take action today and move to adopt the Cultural Heritage Commission's unanimous vote to deny this HCM nomination.
Thank you so much. All right, we have a number of public speakers. I will call off 3 at a time. If you all could just be ready to go at the podium, that will help everyone. So we'll begin with Roland, Gabrielle, and Laura.
Good afternoon. My name is Roland Souza, President of West Adams Heritage Association. We've been concerned about the number of recent demolitions in the Angeles Vista tract in contingent Arlington Heights community. I have received a large number of emails and many phone calls from West Adams Heritage Association members and residents of the Angeles Vista tract. They expressed concern about the fate of the 1907 Minnie and Naldo designed residence at 1848 South Gramercy Place. They understand the importance of this home, which contributes so much to the historic character of their neighborhood. They have long identified this as an important historic home and ask you to consider the importance of this 110-year-old home to the CPIO designated neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Getter. I'm a real estate broker here in the city of LA. I've worked with the owner here in purchasing this property. When we initially went and did research and finding the property, we looked at many elements. And being in LA, I know a lot about the historical preservation of homes, and we definitely looked at that. And we looked at zoning, and we looked at every element in terms of what we can do with this proposed property. I oppose this motion. I think that it's obstruction of our future in the city of LA. We're in a housing crisis. We need to develop this city, and with these types of motions, where do we see our future? And in terms of applying this motion, we just been through a CHC, and they did not declare it historic. Why do we have the CHC if we're not going to listen to their recommendations?
Thank you. After Laura, we have Orna, Chelsea, and Ruth.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Laura Myers. I walked up with Jordan because I actually was the applicant's representative and prepared the nomination. There's 900 pages in the council file, so we're not going to go through that. However, I am so tired of hearing the applicant's attorney not telling the truth. They are proposing to build a very large project with 2 affordable units. They are proposing evicting between 20 and 25 gentlemen who are living currently and have for well over a decade in affordable, permanent, supportive housing. That building, it has 25 beds, has nothing to do with the HCM. I am a qualified historian, so when they say there was no qualified historian on the side of designation, that would be incorrect. In addition, there was Christy McElvoy, who I'm sure you know, founder of Hollywood Heritage and founder of Historic Resources Group, Mitzi March Mogul, a qualified historian, and James Childs, a qualified historian. So there is a difference of opinion. This meets at least two of the criteria. It's associated with Minnie and Naldo Stokes. This was not discussed by the commission. They did discuss at length another thing that was rejected, but they did not discuss the developers who have built at the era well over 50 homes in our community. So it's at length, but
Thank
I
you.
do hope you listen to Council District 10's request.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chelsea Byers. The historic cultural designation before you is effectively an effort to deplete our city's long-term housing supply. We know we need more housing. This crisis is visibilized by the 53,000 people living in the streets every single night. We can't turn LA into an unlivable antique shop. I run Mural Map Los Angeles, an effort to archive and disseminate the incredible artistic value held by Los Angeles. And this motion to designate was, as you heard, not supported by the Cultural Heritage Commission nor Survey LA, who have responsibly supported historic preservations in the past. And therefore, this motion looks to undermine those types of efforts for the long term. And I think there's intrinsic value the city holds, and we shouldn't let this type of designation be misused for this type of purpose. So please deny this historic motion and do so for the sake of the future housing. Thank you.
Thank you. After our next speaker, we'll have Ruth, Ann, and Akilish.
Well, I'm Ruth Myers. Good afternoon.
Yes.
I'm asking that you deny this proposal. Both the Cultural Heritage Commission and Survey LA have already rejected the historical significance of this property, and too many times we've seen historical nominations used as a weapon of obstruction. I'm asking that you don't allow this rundown property to stand in the way of forward progress here in LA. And bottom line, all of your constituents, just not the very affluent and vocal constituents, are listening and paying attention. Thank you.
We have Ann, Akilish, and Lorenzo.
Good afternoon, Anna Marie Brooks. WAHA has been in existence over 30 years. Laura, who made the nomination, lives on the block. It's never become an HPOZ. I ask you, why? Why did she wait 30-some years to nominate it? Oh, because it was up for development. Come on. It's not in Survey LA. The Historic Cultural Commission didn't find it historic. I was asked to look at it. I've done many, many historic nominations. I didn't find it historic. And neither, it seems, did many other people. Thank you.
Dear Plum Committee, I am the owner of the property. Let me tell you about my own story here. I'm an engineer. My wife is a doctor. My wife commutes 1.5 hours one way to go to the work. I commute about an hour. We have one 3-year-old son and one 1-year-old son. I know from my own company, people come from Riverside, 2 hours each way. I'm not a developer. I don't aspire to be a developer. I'm an engineer. That's what I do. I look at the facts, then I make a decision. People call me rocket scientist because that's who I am, sir. When I bought this property, I did my due diligence as I would do the due diligence for a rocket important to the United States. And with all the due diligence, I never found that this property has any historical character that needs to be preserved.
Thank you. After Mr. Lorenzo, we have Harlan, Ryan Welch, and Jonathan.
Good afternoon, Honorable Councilman, committee members. My name is Lorenzo Brown. I'm a housing advocate. Here today, I'm hearing a lot of language, cultural heritage, history. What we're in, no matter how you vote, is a historic housing crisis in conjunction with a steadily, historically enormous homeless population growing. It seems to me immoral, criminal, you know, the strategic ploys used by people to block housing and progress here. I want to thank you guys ahead of time for doing what I know you're going to do, what's right, and go ahead against this. And let's get this housing development going. Even every small bit that we do adds to the housing stock, and we need to do it here in LA fast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Harlan Allen. I oppose this. Basically, it's not a historic property and does not meet the requirements that have been talked about. So really, I was very surprised, said so. And of course, they love supporting historic designations. So when that came out, I was, I find it's not unique in any way, and there's many examples of other traditional Victorian on that block and many nearby. And of course, it's not Tudor. We've agreed on that. It just isn't. And at this point, I'm not really sure what it is in its present state. I think there's been a lot of things that are actually destroyed that might have qualified it. Nothing with sense of merit has happened at this site, and that's also been mentioned. As an architectural style in the area, there's many more examples of this. Any designation that we do, of course, we have to take serious. The present occupation right now that's in there, I don't think would be allowed if it was a historic property, so take that into consideration. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Great to see y'all. I'm going to be reading fast. Good to see you. Our knowledgeable, educated, and experienced city staff undertook rigorous research in arriving at their determination that 1848 South Gramercy Place does not qualify for historic preservation under any of our city's criteria. To not follow staff recommendation in this matter is to infer that staff is not presenting impartial findings, but instead is reaching beyond their purview to promote other interests. I cannot imagine that our elected officials, including this committee, would, through disputing their recommendation, call into question the motives of city staff and the rigorous procedures that led to their recommendation. Far too often in matters before our city, I see impartial and thoroughly researched findings by our incredible city staff are disregarded or refuted in order to curry favor with a small handful of constituents whose agenda is not concerned with facts. While I tremendously respect and appreciate our duly elected representatives committee commitment to the concerns and opinions of their constituents, in all cases, thoroughly researched and established facts must carry more weight than opinions, particularly when these opinions are derived not from facts, but instead from a personal or collective objective that has no confluence with the facts.
Thank you.
So please deny historic preservation of this property.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman.
Jonathan Freeman Anderson, born and bred LA resident. I urge you to deny this motion. I find it to be a shame that the people supporting this motion would choose to weaponize the historical landmark designation and sort of reduce its integrity if it were to move forward as it is. For starters, Survey LA, obviously, as everybody else has already said, have not found this to be historically or culturally relevant to move forward as a historical landmark. As well, the evidence would be shown that they didn't want to move for this motion until after it was purchased by a developer. And I'm for affordable housing. If this land is developed, obviously affordable housing would be included, and it'd be nice to be walking down the street by this building and some homeless guy asks for change. I could say, yeah, there's the change right there in that building. It's going to be something that will soon be available for you. And if you're just going to be giving out the historical landmark designation willy-nilly, I think my apartment had Jim Morrison sunbathing on the roof, so maybe, you guys want to make that a thing. Maybe it'll help my rent. I don't know. But in all honesty, please, I highly recommend against this. Keep it up.
Austin Sire.
Thank you, Commissioners. I think this project deserves to have a little bit of a timeline laid out for it because we hear a lot of different points and it gets convoluted and it's confusing. This house has sat there for over 100 years. It's become dilapidated. It's become run down. It's turned into somewhat of I'm not exactly sure what it is when you Google it. It's not sure if it's a halfway house or it's a substance space run by a private company. But it's sat here for a really long time. Property values continue to rise. The property was then purchased. After it was purchased, that's when this nomination was filed. There was many opportunities before that to have happened. Survey LA did not deem this historic. CHC did not deem this historic. The experts have not deemed this historic. And I'm all down for affordable housing and permanent supportive housing. We need that. And thank goodness we have H and HHH to make those things happening. but when you call this number that's available on Yelp for Brothers Substance-Free Living for Men, that you call them and ask you about your private insurance. So I'm not sure what the permanent supportive housing component here is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Is there someone here from CD10 on this item? Oh, they spoke already. Okay, you spoke already? Okay. And your recommendation was?
To reiterate, we would like to recommend, move forward with no recommendation to full council tomorrow, and hopefully by tomorrow morning we'll have a final interpretation from the city attorney's office.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. Well, we'll take the recommendation from the Council District 10 to move forward with no recommendation so that they could further get additional information and come up with some conclusion on this matter. So any objection to moving forward with no recommendation? Being none, so ordered. Thank you. Next item.
The last item, Councilman, is item 7. On this item, the applicant has withdrawn the application, and as such, the Director of Planning also withdrew the initiation of the GPA.
Okay, so we will receive and file
Yes,
the item.
yes, sir.
Any objection? No objection to receiving and filing the item. Next item.
That concludes the agenda, Councilman.
There are no
Comment.
public speakers on public comment. Oh, yes, we do. We have a few. Herman? Not here. Wayne? Not here. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.